What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. As you can see in the background, that is my Mk4 Fiesta van. Now, we're currently in the middle of a bit of a situation with the Fiesta van. Now, as you can see, the engine is not in the bay like it's supposed to be, but in fact, it's sitting on the floor out the front here. Let's get you guys up to speed. So, the last video I posted of my Mk4 Fiesta van was back in January. Now, I changed the fuel pump and I also changed the timing belts. Now, this was a nice job, it went smoothly, and I got the van back on the road. I put around 250 miles on the Fiesta van after I'd done that work, but then one day I was cruising back home from work and the oil light came up and the van completely died. So I cruised over to hard shoulder, sort of got a bit annoyed with it, and I got it dragged back home. So I'm not sure about some of you guys, but I pride myself in my work. So when something goes wrong, I really do sort of kick myself. And I was racking my brains for the weeks following when the oil light came on and thinking, what could it be? So I ran through loads of different scenarios. I even stripped quite a bit of the engine apart again to put the timing tools in to make sure it was definitely in time. I changed the oil and filter. I'd done loads of different bits and bobs. I checked all of my work over that I'd previously done and everything was spot on. So I was really racking my brains with this one. Now, at this point, I kind of lost interest with the van. I've got other projects, as you guys will know, and I kind of had to crack on with them. So it's just been sat here ever since. And then I started looking at it again at probably the start of May. I was scratching my head thinking, I really want to get this Fiesta van back on the road because I'll tell you guys a bit of a secret. This is my favourite van. So yeah, I need to get this running again. So what I've done is I made a little game plan. Now, my game plan consisted of two things. Now, the first one was to take and remove the sump. Main reason because it was damaged and it was slightly leaking oil. I thought this could add to the oil light being on the dash, but also I wanted to check the pickup was clear and it hadn't been smashed and it was blocking it. But there was one other thing that was just going round and round and round in my head, is the fuel pump. Now, when I changed the fuel pump on this Fiesta van, it was a new old stock one, or that's what it was advertised as. So what I'd done is I purchased it, I just slapped it straight on the Fiesta van and that was it, away we went for 250 miles. But I never actually got it looked over. So in my head, I was thinking, oh, fuel pump, it's got to be fuel pump still. It's messing up, it's over fueling and then somehow getting into the oil. But anyway, I'm not going to drag on this story for too much longer because when I went underneath the Fiesta van, after I removed the gearbox and the sump, because you've got to remove the gearbox to remove the sump, I found out that the oil pump was actually mullered. Now, I was spinning the engine over and this wasn't moving the oil pump at all, meaning that it must have chewed itself to pieces. Now, I don't know why it's done this. Whether me putting the cam belt on it has somehow put it off, I don't think so. Now, the oil pump isn't timed either. It's just a constant pump that pumps the oil around the engine. So I've been racking my head thinking what's gone wrong. But for whatever reason, the oil pump has failed on this engine, which then led me to remove the big ends, the main ends, they're all scored as well. So I thought, let's just cut my losses. And I asked anyone if they had a 1.8 Endura engine, a full lump, because I know they're fairly reasonably priced. And to be fair, massive shout out to you guys, because loads of you guys got in contact saying, yep, I've got one, or yeah, my mate's got one. So yeah, really appreciate it. And that leads me on to what I've been doing this morning. I've just went down to Southampton to meet a bloke called Craig. He's a fellow subscriber of the channel, and I purchased a full 1.8 Endura off him for 150 quid. So knowing that Craig had a Endura DE 1.8 diesel engine, I thought, yeah, I'm gonna have that off of him. So I set on removing the original engine from the Fiesta van because I need to make way for the new lump that's gonna go in. So I took a trip down to Southampton this morning in the trusty Mk4 Escort van, and here is the Endura DE engine. Now, very interesting about this engine, it's exactly the same one that comes out of the Fiesta van, but the main thing with this is the pump's different and a few other little bits and bobs. So yeah, it actually came out of a Mk4 Escort van. I've seen videos of it running and that, but we're gonna have to change a few bits and bobs around to get it fitted to the Fiesta van. But anyway, I'm not going to waffle on for too much longer. I need to get the engine crane out, get that engine out, and I'm going to get both of them, the old one and the new one that I just picked up from Craig, side by side, and start to mix and match and work out what parts I do need and what parts I don't need. As you can see, we've got the theatre ready for open heart surgery on the Mk4 Fiesta van. So I've got my gazebo set up because even though it's June, it still is on and off raining. That's just how the UK does summer. So yeah, we've got to have a bit of protection. Anyway, I've got the engines here. This is my old one and that is the new one. Well, new to me anyway. As you can see, that's got loads of stuff still plumbed onto it. Craig, who removed it, left loads of bits and bobs on, which is all well and good. I just need to start removing them. There is different parts I'm going to have to swap over, like the engine mounts are different, the fuel system's different, but yeah, I'll explain that to you guys once I've done that. So basically I'm just going to crack on. I'm going to start at this back end and deal with all of the exhaust and the inlet manifold and that. I'm starting to strip the back of the engine now. I don't know whether the inlet manifold is the same on this engine as it is the original, so I'm going to be removing this and fitting my original one. The exhaust manifold I know is different, so I'm going to be removing this as well. The engine mount is different because when it was in an Escort van, the engine mount is just different. And the only thing I'm going to be keeping from this side is the oil filter housing, and that leads onto the oil pump. Well, my box that I set aside to put all the spare parts in is filling up very nicely. So I've now got the back of the engine all sorted. What I had to do is add the bracket down here from my other engine. This holds on part of the catalytic converter. There's also another bracket that I had to add on which holds on the drive shaft, and there's also this mount up here which is the engine mount as well, but obviously on fitting it to the Fiesta compared to the Escort van, it's got a different mount. So yeah, that's just the mount for that. I've got the inlet and the exhaust off. Now I'm going to be moving on to this side of the engine, so where the gearbox would be sitting. I'm going to remove the clutch and the flywheel, and I've got all this fuel system to deal with because as we can see, I've just got a filter up here. I don't actually have like the primer and that with mine, so yeah, I'm going to get to work and make this engine look like that one. I'm just going to jump in, give you guys another little update. So I'm finished on this side. I just had to remove the clutch and flywheel, and I had to swap around the hoses and the fuel filter because that was different. Anyway, I moved on to this area, but I realised to sort out this area, I'm going to need to take the fuel pump off, and to take the fuel pump off, we need to take the cam belts off. So I stripped off all the covers. Really good to see as well. You probably won't be able to pick it up, but this is a genuine Ford belt. It has been changed before. It might have had 1, 2 or maybe 3 in its life. Yeah, I just moved on down here. I've removed the alternator and the power steering pump as well. I've already got them from my van, so they're just going to go in the parts pile. But yeah, all I'm going to do now is I'm going to time up the engine. Just got to time up the cam, and then there's a little bolt just down here underneath the fuel pump. Got to do that, and then top and bottom will be synchronised and stay like that whilst I've got the belts off. And then I'll take the belts off, take the fuel pump off, and then we will go from there. It is now the next morning. I'm going to call this day 2, and it is a glorious Sunday out here today. As you can see, just pure blue skies behind me, but I've already been cracking on, so let me show you guys what I've been doing. Yesterday evening I got all of the timing belt stripped off and that. I've given that area a nice clean up, and yeah, it's looking nice and good now. Basically, I stripped off all the parts from this side of the engine, and then I was about to refit them, and then I thought, you know what, I've got to paint the engine. So I got up bright and early this morning, 7 o'clock. I came out here. As you can see, there's loads of rubbish on the floor that I've peeled off of the block. Now I've painted this side, and I think it's come up really well. It is quite shaded at the moment because we're under the gazebo, but you'll be able to see it in better light later on. And if you come around this side, this has got the sun on it. And as you can see, I've painted up the block as well. I did have to remove the bits that I fitted yesterday, but that didn't take 2 seconds to bolt them back on. So yeah, it's looking really good. I'll just give you a brief rundown of the main aim for this morning. I want to get this section all built back up, meaning I've got to put the water hose back on, and I've also got to swap over the thermostats. So this is a thermostat unit from my original engine, and this is the thermostat unit from the new engine. They are very similar, but they are slightly different. As you can see, the outlet is at a different angle, and yeah, I think this one's got an extra sensor on it. So anyway, I'm going to be fitting the thermostat from my old engine. Over here, back on the old engine, I've got the vacuum pump. Pretty sure, yeah, this is a vacuum pump. I'm going to be using the same one because I didn't really like the look of the one off the new engine, and I know this one works, so I'm going to get this whipped off and swapped around as well. I've been at this engine for most of the morning, and it's starting to look good again. As you can see, I've got most of the bits and bobs bolted to this side now, and as I say, it's all painted up. Now what I'm going to move on to next is doing the cam belt and fitting back my fuel pump. Now I mentioned in the start of this video that I was unsure on this fuel pump. I purchased it as new old stock, and I just put it on the Fiesta van and ran it. It ran perfectly, but there was still a little inkling in my mind that wanted to get it checked over and make sure it was all fine. So I went down to Wade Diesels, who are fairly local to me, and I asked them, look, can you test this out? Can you have a look at it, replace some seals if they need changing, and just let me know sort of the condition of it. And I tell you what guys, they could not believe it. When I went to collect this fuel pump, it was just 1 day later, and yeah, the turnaround was just crazy in itself. But they actually told me that this pump is a brand new fuel pump, which I was really happy with. And they also asked me how much I purchased it for, and I said I purchased it for £400, and they said I got a bargain because apparently it's worth about 1,400, 1,500 quid brand new. So yeah, really happy with that. And what they've done is they bench tested it. They said it was working absolutely perfectly. They stripped it apart, and they said there was hardly no wear on any of the parts. They replaced a couple of the gaskets and a few of the copper seals, but yeah, that was it. That comes to about £180, but for peace of mind, to get a diesel specialist to actually thoroughly look at my pump, I think that is well worth the money, and I'm really happy with the result. So with that result, I was very satisfied that all the work I had done hadn't contributed to the oil pump going on the old engine. So yeah, really happy with this. I haven't even taken it out of the plastic bag yet, but I need to refit this to my new engine now. And I've also got a brand new timing belt kit that I picked up. Now, the reason I've got a new one, even though the old timing belt was only 250 miles old, is just belts and braces. I'm not going to use a old timing belt even if it's only been on the vehicle a couple of weeks. It's just not in me, so I had to buy a brand new one, and that's what I'm going to be doing now. If you guys want to know how to fit this and all the ins and outs, it is in my other video. I'm just going to whack it on time lapse, and you guys can see me bolting back up the pump and getting it all timed up again. Right, I'm hitting you guys with an update a couple of hours later, and we've definitely progressed. So I've got the fuel pump on, I've now got the cam belt on. Very annoying, I had to do this twice, mainly because I forgot to put this engine mount on. That goes on first, then all the belt goes on. But yeah, we live and we learn. So I've pretty much got all the cam belt done now, fuel pump's on, and it's nearly ready to go in. Just gonna make my way over to this side because I've just removed the rear main seal. As you can see, it's just one unit down here because I've got a new one. This is a new rear main seal that I ordered. So I'm gonna be putting that on. Then I'm also gonna put my flywheel and clutch back on. Well, today is already starting to take its toll. I've been on this engine since about 7 o'clock this morning and it's just gone 4 o'clock and the sun's still shining and I don't want to stop, so I'm gonna keep going. Let me show you guys the engine and how it's looking now. You'll have to excuse the shadow, but as you can see, it's all built up. I've got the clutch, the flywheel on there, and I also changed that rear main oil seal. I think I've already shown you guys, but I've done the timing belt. That's all done now, that's all timed up. I've also got the alternator bracket on, pumps on, so yeah, we are pretty much ready to go. I've got the carcass of the old engine sitting down here. There's nothing left on there that I need, or nothing that I think I need, because there's always something you forget. But no, that is pretty much what is left of the old engine. I will be fitting the rocker cover to the new one once it's in. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to start to make a bit of room around here. I'm going to get the engine crane set up, and I'm going to get the engine underneath because this is how I took the old one out, underneath. So yeah, I'll slide this under and then we'll try and jack it up into the bay and get it in position. Welcome to day 3, and I've kicked today off with a huge win, to be honest, because I needed to get the gearbox back attached to the new engine, which is now in the bay, and I was struggling for a bit, but when I'm determined to do something, I just get it done. So I got underneath, got right underneath the gearbox and just lifted it in. It was pretty heavy, to be fair, and I'm not the strongest of guys, but yeah, we've got it in. And the engine is still at a bit of a tilt just because I had it tilted to get the gearbox on. What I'm doing now is I'm just sifting through all the wiring, working out roughly where it goes. I know this is all the alternator and starter wiring. I've got some fuel pipes, a couple of earths, but there's really not too much wiring on this, to be honest. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring the gearbox up and then I can get it mounted back on to this near side of the vehicle. And then we can get the engine hoist all disconnected and it'll just be rocking on its 2 engine mounts. I'm not going to waffle for too much longer because I really want to get this running today. So let's get cracking and see if we can get old Vinny back on the road. Right, I'm jumping in for another update. I've pretty much done the front of the engine now. I've plumbed in all of that fuel pump, I've put in all of the coolant hoses, I've done the wiring, and the mount is all tightened up on the gearbox side, so pretty happy with how this is going. Now I'm going to move my attention to the back of the engine. We have got the inlet and exhaust manifold to add on, and then we've got to do some other bits down the bottom, including adding the gearbox mount down the back, the sort of stabilizer mount. But what I just wanted to show you guys, I've got the manifold down here and the cat. Now I did originally try and remove the cat from the manifold and the nuts were just snapping off. So what I've ended up doing is I've drilled them out and I'm just going to nut and bolt it. I've got a new seal for this as well. It's like a circular seal. Basically, I'm just going to fit up the manifolds now, but I wanted to show you guys I've got a new gasket for that. As you can see, this is the original one here, and here is the one I've purchased. I had to buy this with like another kit. It was like a turbo kit, unfortunately. Mine isn't turbo, but yeah, this was the only one I could find. So I've got this, and I'm going to be fitting it with the manifolds, and then we'll bolt up the cap from the underside. I'm still waiting for the seal, but I'm hoping it's going to come today. So yeah, just a little brief update. I'll be completely honest with you guys, I can't remember the last time I updated you, but I've just been cracking on, and as you can tell, from the absolute mess that I've made, I've just went for it this afternoon. It's about, I don't know, 2 or 3 o'clock now, something like that. I've been on it all morning, trying to get bits and bobs bolted up. I've done the alternator, starter motor, then I went to the back, I've done the exhaust inlet, all of that. I've just slapped the battery on for now. The cap won't go on nicely, just away, because I've drilled out the holes, but they're not all marrying up nicely. So that's just bolted on sort of loosely for now, just to test run it. I've got the aux belt on and everything like that. I've just bled up the fuel lines because these have to be like manually pumped through. So I've just done that. It's being jumped by another battery, and I've already done this, so it should start. Give it a little blip of the throttle. Starts, and I tell you what, it sounds so good. Sounds brilliant. Really, really happy with this. So there we have it, the Mk4 Fiesta van is running, but this video isn't over yet because I've got to clean up all the mess that I've made, and I've also got to do a few other little bits. I just need to sort of tidy up a few areas, need to actually put the battery tray in, put the airbox on. I'm also going to be removing the cat because I think I'm going to get another one of them, just because I don't really like the way all the holes are lining up, because I drilled out the studs because they snapped, etc, etc. So I'm going to see how much one of them is, but it runs and it sounds really good. So yeah, I'm very happy with myself. And just like that, it is a couple of days later. It's midweek now, and I'm actually trying to get this Fiesta ready for my gathering, which is happening on Saturday, and today is Wednesday, so we'll find out about that very shortly, if we can achieve that or not. Anyway, I'm calling this day 4. I've just got back from work, and the cat has arrived, which I ordered the other day. Let me show you it. Right, so what we've got down here is the original cat and the one I've just ordered. This is an aftermarket one, hence why it looks slightly different. Now, the reason I'm not using my cat is because the studs snapped out and I drilled them out, and it's just not worked for me, basically. So I just ordered this one, and this comes to just under £100, so really happy with it. There's a few slight differences, but this is an aftermarket one. It's not Ford branded, and I'm not going to be able to use this original bracket which came with obviously the original cat. But I've had a look, I've sort of put it up there, test fitted it, and it doesn't really need that bracket anyway, because it bolts on at the top here, comes down to the flexi, and then it bolts onto the rest of the exhaust. So it's got enough support there, and they would have added a bracket if it really does need it. Yeah, I'm glad I'm replacing this one as well, because the flexi was actually damaged. As you can see just down here, it's damaged quite bad. So I always wanted to sort of replace this, but I was worried about how much it would be. But luckily, it was surprisingly affordable. Now, I've got this from my local motor factors called Bennett's. I always go there. They're, yeah, they really do look after me. And in with the cat, you get a full fitting kit. So this is for the cat side, and this is for the cat to the rest of the exhaust. Really happy with this. Got to put my own studs in, and then I've just got to bolt it all up. And yeah, it just makes it so much more simpler when you can get the gasket kit for the right cat. I'm really happy to manage to get that cat in such short notice, because I only ordered it on Monday, so really, really happy. Anyway, I've just come round to the back of the Fiesta because we've got some more bits to fit. Now, don't worry about that sump. That's just a spare one I've got. But we've got to fit the drive shafts. We're also going to do a oil and filter change because it is just the old oil in that engine still. I've got 2 litres of gearbox oil, not quite sure how much it takes yet. I've also got a new expansion tank, this coolant reservoir. Now, I got this off a friend called Steve. He's a subscriber of the channel and he works for Fords, so it's quite surprising what you can actually get still. So yeah, I've got a new reservoir. He's even got a new cap there as well. I got them quite a while ago, so I've been looking forward to fitting them. So yeah, got to do some fluids, got to tighten up some of the suspension, put the shafts in, but we're going to get there, I reckon. But anyway, I'm not going to waffle on for too much longer because, as I have said, I'm on a bit of a time restraint. So let's get cracking and see if we can get this Fiesta van back on the floor, running, and maybe even driving today. We are nearing the end of another day and I've been grafting away out here in the garden, and the Mk4 Fiesta van is looking nearly complete. So I have got all the suspension together, I've got the battery tray in, I've got all the intake, the airbox in, I've got the new cat all bolted in down there, and to be honest, we're pretty much all good to go now. I've got my new expansion tank here. Look how good that looks compared to the old crusty one. Look at that. Ugh. So yeah, really, really happy. Right, let's see if Vinny is going to fire into action. It's all right, that was just a test run. Oi! Look up. It sounds well good, doesn't it? That's just a clutch. Because the
Just drive it now.
well, I can get it together, yeah. First drive. It pulls. That's second gear going uphill. It's crazy how I've got used to driving the Escort van. It's got exactly the same engine, but it's really sluggish. This van is like so nippy. Yeah, boy. Well, I guess this pretty much concludes this little episode on my Mk4 Fiesta van. We've just taken it for a spin around the block. The sun is just setting on this lovely summer's evening. I am absolutely buzzing. I can't think of any other words at the moment. Lauren's in there because she wanted to come out. But yeah, it's a lovely evening. I've got my Mk4 Fiesta van back and it sounds brilliant. It's got its MOT in a couple of weeks, so I think we do need to change a few bits and bobs for that. But overall, I am so happy with the end result and really, really happy that it's now back on the road and driving again. Anyway, that's about all we've got time for. If you did enjoy the video, please give it a like, and if you like what you see, subscribe to the channel to see more. Thank you all for watching, and until the next one, I'll see you guys later.